All right, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a great weekend. The weather was awesome. And another good day today. Last week we did our KB Core work session. We did it on that open house app, and we talked about that, how to get into KB Core. It's called Core Open. It's an app that you can get on your Android or Apple devices. It's a sign-in app. It's also it shows the picture of the house. It's a really good thing for your open houses. But so I wanted to kind of elaborate on more on that, and let's talk about open houses. I think open houses are phenomenal, and I think most agents here that have done open houses, have had conversations and got people in their database, and also close deals because of open houses. So sometimes we got to learn, we got to learn how to maximize those opportunities. And one thing I will tell you is I don't think every house is a house that is going to bring a good open house. Okay. So, if you have that client, if you've listed enough houses, you've had those homes where curb appeal's bad, or they're just not going to put the time and effort into getting that house fixed up, or they're no way they're going to get the dogs out or anything. I mean, some houses just don't lend themselves to an open house. But the ones that do, and if there's listings in within our organization or your organization, if you're not part of United, uh, you can get permission and do those open houses. Look for those houses that are in a price point that we know a lot of activities have. Look for those houses that are in neighborhoods where you've got 20 houses one way, 20 houses the other way, 20 houses behind, and 20 in front, that you will be able to talk to and talk to those people. And it all starts, I really think it's a 2 week period that you should be planning for an open house. In other words, once you have it scheduled and you know the house is going to be ready, start looking. One of the first things you should be doing is inviting that whole neighborhood to get some sort of mailer, letting them know that open house is coming. Okay. That's just the start. Okay. So that's one touch. You're going to have a sign in the front yard that's going to be saying, "Hey, we're having an open house on Sunday." I will tell you, NAR, when I was preparing for some of this, NAR did a study and found that open house on a Saturday and a Sunday, obviously it's 2 days, so it should bring more people, but you got a lot of people that can't come on Sundays. More success in open houses when they're held on both those days, because when you are advertising 2 weeks in advance, you're inevitably going to send a postcard, or you're ever going to have advertising out there that they're busy Sunday, uh, and they can't come. They could possibly come on Saturday with ball games and everything else. They can come on Sunday. So I think a Saturday Sunday open house is a definite way to spark interest and people to be able to schedule that in their mind way out. When we do a mailer and we do it in that area, that's time. Ideally, I think if you'll door knock, okay, and if you don't like to door knock, why not give that opportunity to another agent? Okay. I mean, all you're doing, and create a little invitation card, just an invitation card. So you've already sent them a card; they know it's coming. Now you're just coming to give them a reminder and an invitation card that about the open house. I will tell you that neighbors love to come to other people's houses and see what's happening in their neighborhood. Okay, and one thing to remember is that if a neighbor is taking the time to walk through that open house, they're either extremely nosy, or they are really thinking, okay, we may not be selling now, but we know we're going to consider it in a year. Or we are considering selling soon. So what the door knocking does is it opens up conversation. You're carrying something in your hand. You're able to give them an invitation. The QR code use is awesome during that time, because you can QR code directly to that property, uh, your website, and now you've got their information. But again, we're creating conversation. Uh, is everybody going to answer the door? No. Is everybody going to be friendly? Probably not. But per NAR, 15% of people within a radio, when there's 100 houses around, and 15% of them are considering selling their home in the next year. That's a lot. So if we're in front of them now, so that's 15 homes within the next year going to go on the market, or the homeowner is considering put it on the market. So we start thinking that, and we get in front of these people, and we are inviting them to an open house. We're giving them an update on that area, letting them know about it, and keeping them updated with a market update on their home. You're in front of them. There's a good chance that they're going to keep reaching out to you. And so when they're ready to list, hopefully you'll get them. So think of an open house more than just trying to find buyers for this house. In fact, less than 10% of homes are sold through. But it is exposure for that house. And sellers, I don't know how many times sellers think, they don't think you're working if you're not doing an open house on their property. So I think we've all had that. So open houses are perfect time to get seller leads and buyer leads, but start 2 weeks in advance, send that card out, and so you are following up with a door knock or a phone call if you don't want a door knock. This weekend would have been a great time to walk in the neighborhood and talk to people. People were outside, but if you got something to hand them, it makes it easier to do that, and invite them. Invite them. What you're doing is you're inviting them because, hey, do you have any family or friends? And you don't know what people are looking for. Let's say a mother-in-law to live closer to them. Or they got friends that come over all the time. They say, man, we'd love to live in this neighborhood. So get out there and put that open house that way and invite them. Also create a special time for those neighbors to come. It doesn't have to be during your regular hours. When you tell them it's a special time for them. So let's say your open house is from 2 to 5. Let them know that 1 to 2 is a special time just for the neighbors and their family and friends. It won't be open to advertising it out in front of the house with the time 2 to 5. But you've given them an invitation from 1 to 2, come. This time of year when it's nice out and it's warm, and if it's going to be a really good open house, it's in a really good neighborhood, like let's just say Shelton Square or something like that, you may want to consider bringing in a cone of ice or something like that to be parked out in front and create that interest. Make sure your signage is appropriate. Enough arrows out there. We've got those flags you can rent, open house flags, letting people know them. So advertise, then make that personal contact with door knocking, and then take full advantage of using signage and then those QR codes. Directional arrows are one of those things. I will tell you, I've been to open houses before. You can't really figure it. It says open house at the road with one arrow, and then you get back in there and you can't find any more arrows. You don't know where you're going. There's no address on the sign. So make sure that we're pointing people to the right direction. Now that we're at the open house, we've got, let's say, the 1 to 2, and we've got sellers bringing their family, friends, and the nosy neighbors coming in. Make sure before this open house, and before door knocking, you have thoroughly looked at the market. Make sure you know how many homes went pending. Make sure you know how many homes have expired, how many homes went above listing price. Have those things in mind, because you need to be the real estate expert at these open houses. You need to be the neighborhood expert at these open houses. This is a perfect chance to get your foot in the door, because if you have one listing and then all of a sudden you get another and another in a neighborhood, you better stay there and start farming that neighborhood, because you're going to be known in that neighborhood as the agent of choice. Understand your market, understand your product, the house you're selling, understand what other homes are available. Not, just because you got an open house and and it's 3 bedroom, 2 baths, somebody may come in and goes, man, I would love this house, except I need a bonus. I need an extra bedroom. Know if there's anything out there, and let them know, hey, do you mind if I send this to you later and let's go look at it later? Now, sometimes I had done this in the past. I don't think we're going to be able to moving forward. And that's, hey, after this open house, I'd love to show it to you. Let me see if I can get an appointment. Now we really going to have to start getting those buyers appointments so we can get the buyer's representation agreement signed before we show house one. So that, that will change a little bit of that, some things, but know what's available to them at least. And maybe even have a flyer of that house or, the only problem sometimes with giving them something of the other house is you want to keep a little information, so that you can contact and say, hey, I told you I'd call you with those houses that may meet your criteria. And when would you like to meet? If you give them the information, and they leave with it, they may not wait for your phone call and contact somebody else or whatever. So, but again, know your area, know your neighborhood, know what schools, things like that. You can always have them and point them in the right direction. Homes.com's got a great thing on the backside of every, when you pull up a property, it talks about the area and it will do the school ratings, it'll do crime rating. Because again, as agents, we should not be talking about those things. We should tell them to go get their own due diligence out and what they think. And Homes.com has now got a good product for that on their website. So become familiar with it so you know where to send people for that. But again, know your product. Second thing is, after you got those people that come through, and then you got just visitors, have what you're going to say, have it memorized, know what when they first walk in that door. Okay, so you'll be more comfortable if you know exactly what you're going to say when they walk in that door, and have something that you're going to give them. Okay, whether it's a flyer of the property, whether it's a questionnaire about the property, if you don't mind, for the sellers, if you can give us your honest feedback about, and have those things that they can write down on a little flipboard or whatever. Then we talked about the other day, we talked about not only that, you could have a giveaway when they turn that item in. There could be a giveaway. Remember who it was, but they did an open house, and uh, born. I don't see her on here today, but she did an open house, and the people actually kind of filled out the wrong phone number. She asked them about it, and they put it in. Well, these people are a buyer, a seller, and a buyer, and working with them from. Give them something, get them to sign in. The KV Core app that we talked about the other day, that that we went over in the KV Core work session. That's a great tool. There's actually other ones out there, not just that one. There's others out there that you can, that if you like better, you can do. The nice thing about the KV Core one is once they fill it out, it goes directly into your CRM, and then you can email them and text them, tell them thank you for coming, and then leave them with something. Okay, so they've seen the open house. They may not have really good feedback or whatever, but let them take away something, and it doesn't have to be just on that property. Maybe it could be the stages, the first time home buyer, move up buyer, move down buyer, whatever, relocating seller buyer. Have those stages there, and maybe have a QR code for first time homes where they can flash it, and it's already got a search set up for them to go when it goes to your website. See first time, see affordable homes, whatever you want to put. See small homes, move down homes, ranch homes, whatever. A lifestyle type of guide that when they leave, they're leaving with that from you. Okay. So once you got their information, you've given them something, you've shown your value in knowing the area. Uh, you've made a good impression on them when they leave. It also will make that phone call after the open house a whole lot easier, especially if you've had good conversation. Okay. You should follow up with everyone, not necessarily that night, but at least the next day. Thank you for coming to the open house. Just seeing if you had any more questions. Did you get time to look at some of the material that I sent you home with? Uh, Anything like that, just be able to follow up with them and try to have conversation with them and find out their motivation, where they're at. You're qualifying that person at that point. If they're just looking and they're going to look later, let them have full access to your website so that you're always in front of them. And but as you qualify them, you find out where they're at in that buyer journey, which we've talked so much about, and that's kind of how it's gonna steer you in the right direction on how you're going to follow up and what you're going to do with it. The other thing about qualifying those people and getting as much information as we can is communication back to ourselves. Okay? So one thing that it probably, if I hear any complaint from a seller when a house is taking forever to sell or it's not selling, is the lack of communication. So from that open house, get as much information as you can from the people that have been visited. Hey, we had a couple come in from Arizona. They're relocating here. Uh, they thought the house was great. However, it's just a little high for the price point, or the backyard wasn't big enough. Give them that. Give the seller the feedback, and if it's things that can be changed, and it says it, and they say it over and over again, hopefully it'll translate in the seller's mind that okay, we need to fix something. But when you give that, instead of saying, oh, 5 people showed up, give them feedback of what people showed up, why they showed up, who they were. And that seller knows that when you held that open house, you gave value, you asked the right questions, and that you were working, and you're giving them valuable feedback. So I'd like to hear some of y'all's experiences with open houses and what you've done in the past, and how they helped, or what you wouldn't do again. Anybody want to share?
Well, this is I don't know why I couldn't unmute earlier. But I do have a couple of questions. It's not necessarily the open house. I didn't want to interrupt you whenever you were talking about getting the like open house flyers out to the neighborhood like 2 weeks prior. Is it KB Core? I can't remember how to like get the addresses of the neighborhoods,
It's
people in the neighborhood, but we can do that at a KB Core session, right?
no, it's not KV Core. You go to Real Track. If you go to log in on your Real Tracks and go to CRS
Right.
tax.
But I'm saying you can go over those instructions on like a KB Core session or whatever. I don't know. I might not be saying the word like
Yeah,
where
all
you
right.
can tell me.
Yeah, just call me sometime, and I'll walk it when you got Real Track pulled up, and I'll take you right to it.
Okay. And then I have a second thing. As far as if anybody's done like the door hangers with like your business card, I have them. Do y'all knock and then or just place it on there? Like what's the best? I
Well,
kind of
I think always knocking, because what we're trying to do is create the conversation.
okay.
We want somebody to come out, and a door hanger's fine, but maybe a little invitation. You're inviting them to something. You're not asking them to sell their home. You're
Oh
not
no,
asking.
I'm sorry. This
Yeah,
was separate. Like if I'm just putting them out in like so I got that for open house, but like I bought door hangers just to put out in my neighborhood saying, "Hey, not only am I your neighbor, I'm a real estate agent."
yeah.
You're putting
That's
them on
exactly.
neighbors still. Okay.
That's
Okay.
knock on the door and say exactly that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
uh, Tanika, you got an open house story, because when you were brand new here, you did an
Oh
open
yeah.
at one of my
Yeah.
condominiums, and what did all of that turn into?
It turned into 2 sales. So she was my first client. Now it took over a year because she was selling a house in California, but I stayed in touch. We talked all the time. We still talk. We consider ourselves family. Still go visit birthdays, all of that. Um, and then because it was her daughter that was moving here for work, and her daughter was gonna thought she had to use the relocation company her job offered, but she ended up telling them that she had a realtor and they allowed her to use me. So I got mom and daughter here from California.
You had any referrals since then from them?
Actually, yeah. So husband's family is thinking about moving here. So when they come in town, I always go by and see them as well. And
So
then I have a past client who got a house in Springfield, and she just messaged me. They're having to move here. And so I'm gonna be looking for them a house. So they have the investment property, but now they're gonna be moving here.
good. So right there's testimony open houses, which turned into referrals. Thank you for sharing, Tanika.
Oh,
Anybody
you're
else?
welcome.
Gotten
More?
some buyers from open houses, so I know that it works, but they've, if there's one thing I can take away from today, it's definitely spend more time on qualifying them, which we're gonna have to do going forward because of the changes, but I was like so quick to just want to start showing them homes and dive right in. And both of them that I got from open houses they never closed for various reasons, but I feel like I would have been able to prevent maybe a lot of wasted time on everyone's part had I spent a little bit more time qualifying them on the front end.
Good. So with this buyer you're working with now, how much different have you treated this one from the time you met them to the
Completely
time?
different. Yeah,
and do you
completely
feel,
different.
and do you think it
Yeah.
worked?
Yeah, it's working. So
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Good. Awesome. Anybody else?
I've had good experiences at open houses. One in particular. So I did an open house at a listing, and David that works here, he and his then fiance came to the open house, and I met them there. They left, and then I guess they went and Googled me, and they were looking, but the realtor that they had initially talked to, they weren't very fond of, and so they ended up going on Google and reading my reviews, and then they contacted me, and I actually sold them their house. So, but they went to the open house, seen me there, met me, and then later on came back to me. But it was because of that open house. I've also sold the house that I've held open before. I was holding an open house for someone else, and on their listing, and someone came in and she liked it. I showed her another property right after the open house in the same neighborhood. And then she ultimately wrote an offer on the property I had held open, and we closed on it.
Good. Awesome. One thing we talked about at Katie Core Work Session, I know I mentioned it here, but wanted to go into it a little more was, those people's information, getting their feedback on the house. One of the strategies that we were talking about was having a really nice gift basket there. And then as they go around the house and they leave their information, put it in, where you're going to have a drawing at the end, and let them know they can be there at the end of the open house when you do the drawing, or that you'll contact them later. You're more likely to get good information. They're not going to put donaldduck.com as their Gmail account, and so you should be getting some better contact information from them. So in an open house, you're investing a little bit. You should have drinks, you should have some snacks and those things, and then and the handouts, of course, that you can do. So there is a little investment. The mailers are going to cost a little bit of money, but the more you get it out there, the more opportunities you create for conversation with buyers. So, all right, anybody else before we wrap it up? All right, well, look, it's next week or two this spring. Buyers out there, there's people wanting to buy. I think open house season is definitely here. So look for those opportunities, whether you have a listing, whether it's a listing in our office, that you can utilize, that the agent will let you do it and the homeowner will let you do it. Look for opportunities to host an open house. Use some of these strategies. Share with us anything that you've done different or that you've seen different. And by the way, one thing you can learn what not to do is go visit a bunch of open houses. Just get out there on a Sunday, and I walked into open houses and the agent didn't say one thing to me. Hey, let you walk through. There's no push to update me on the house, the neighborhood, nothing. So just go out there and go see some open houses, and you'll learn a lot of what not to do and a few things of what to do. So, all right. As always, if you guys need anything, reach out to Corinne or myself. We're here to help in any way we can, and forward to hearing a bunch of wins next week and seeing you guys doing a bunch of open houses. So have a good week.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Have a great
Thank
week,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep.